Hi guys, it's Jo here. I'm coming to you from my yurt at the bottom of the garden, and I've got lots of videos I want to share with you about various topics. This one is about my osteopath session that I had Saturday on the 18th of March last week. I haven't had an emotionally good day today, so bear with me on that. I still want to do the videos because otherwise I'm just getting so far behind, and I feel like, you know, you need to see me in all my states, not just when I'm feeling good. And yeah, so anyway, let's start. Last Saturday was a new moon. It was also the equinox, and it was the first day of me taking juniper berry in my water, which I'm going to be doing for a month. So pretty much that whole day before my session, which was at 7 o'clock in the evening, I felt really weird. Really weird and strange and really weak. I'm just doing a bit of reading from my notes that I took. So what I decided to do on the drive to see my osteopath, Emmanuel, was just to kind of centre myself, calm myself, feel kind of ready for the session. I did some OMs, just rounds of OMs. Actually, no, it was Om Namah Shivaya, one of my favourites. And not long after doing that, I just started to feel even more weird. Like the vibrations in my body, it was just kind of too much information, and basically it was the start of a panic attack. And I found it really hard to breathe, and I was driving and I had to go around roundabouts, and I was like, keep it together, Joanna, you can do this. And I hadn't had a panic attack for so long, so I'd kind of almost forgotten what it felt like. But I managed to get to the appointment and, you know, park up. And then when I was waiting just a little bit longer for him to open his door and to start the session, it just got worse. And there were times when it was like I just really couldn't breathe, and I was making funny noises, and I was just like really struggling to hold it together. And he had to carry my bag in for me. I've got a feeling this might be quite a long film. I'm going to split it up, so it's not just going to be one. I've got lots to say. Where did I get to? Hang on. So just to say a bit more about the panic attack, I felt like all of my energy kind of went up into my head, and I was literally kind of doubled over with my head in my hands, just like my cold hands, trying to cool my head down, and just really finding it a struggle to breathe normally. So anyway, when I got into the session, it took probably about 10 minutes of me chatting to Emmanuel about various things for me to kind of start feeling more normal again, and like normal Joanna, not a panic attack Joanna. We talked about my lack of fire, which I've spoken to you about in another video previously, the kind of fire element within me, which he found interesting. He thought I did have some fire, and we found it later on the massage bed. And how we talked about how I connect with the earth, and how I go about that in my morning practice. And he said that lots of people have these visual kind of imaginations or images of them maybe connecting with the roots or whatever, which I've talked about, but they're not actually focusing on the sensations in their physical body. They're more kind of an imagination thing in the mind and up in the head. And he says it's really important to connect with the physical sensations that are in your body. So that was the grounding technique. I said that I've been struggling with connecting with my root chakra, and that many parts of my body was feeling imbalanced and not working properly. I talked about the stiffness in my neck going down my spine, down quite low in my spine, which had been there for a couple of months, and I couldn't shift it. Whatever I was doing with yoga, etc., wasn't making it go away. Oh yeah, when he found it really interesting, so that when I was talking about the grounding technique, that I was able to come up, but it would always come here and then go back down again, and come up and go back down again. It wouldn't ever go higher up and into the head and past this kind of throat chakra area. Yeah, you'll see later on what happened with that on the massage bed. So he started on my stomach region when I was lying down, breathing through my nose. I was lying on my stomach, which I now do a lot in the mornings, grounding with the earth underneath the tree outside. And he said that's much more beneficial for you to be lying on your stomach than for you to be lying on your back, because I think it's to do with the sensations as you breathe. It's kind of compressing your stomach, so you have it just kind of works your energy centers more. Well, that's how I feel it anyway in my body. So breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth, breathing in through the nose, breathing out through the mouth, which is really helpful, because sometimes I would hold the breath in and I would breathe out through the nose as well, but it's almost like it kind of pressurizes your system and kind of holds in what you've got inside, whereas if you breathe out through the mouth, you're just kind of letting out whatever you've got inside you or whatever you've breathed in. You know, it's just kind of expelling more easily, which I'm noticing more and more, and I'm using more and more to breathe out through the mouth, and I'm finding that really helpful. So he moved his other hand higher up, so from my stomach, moved up to my heart area, and very easily just noticed a lot of energy and movement underneath his hand in my heart area. So, you know, that chakra, or that part of my body, is really open anyway, and it didn't need much attention. So when I was moving over to the other side, my whole body just felt really heavy and quite awkward to move. It's like, what am I doing here? Like, moving my body, it just felt so weird. And doing the other side, similar areas of my body, stomach and up, higher up, I would feel really great, totally unblocked. There'd be times when I'd suddenly just grin like the biggest smile you can do, you know, and sometimes I'd even laugh out loud because it just felt so yummy, and it was just like this kind of expression of whatever was happening inside me. So then the most difficult part of the session was when he came to this part here. So he was pressing points in the throat region, and he pressed it really, really, really lightly, but when he was doing it, it felt like he was strangling me, and he was like pressing on me like a ton of bricks, it was just really, really horrible. I actually went up and grabbed his wrist and like pulled his hand away from me because I couldn't breathe. I was like, stop doing what you're doing. And it was like kind of a moment of self-defense, really. It's like I was being attacked. So that was really rather horrible. And he was like, okay, basically you just need to stick with this and sit with it and like breathe through it. And, you know, so he brought his hand back, and we carried on. And then just after some time, that horrible feeling kind of subsided. But I know that it was like a real strong emotional thing as well, and my forehead was all creased up, and I was like putting my hand here just to kind of help myself. It was just like real turmoil. And he did some other movements and changed position, and I had to go through the same thing again, and then breathed through that, and then basically he'd unblocked that whole area of my body, and from there he could work on my head, and then and then all my energy from down below was coming up and flowing through and round, and my head became so intensely hot, like the hottest I've ever felt in my head in my whole life. I've never probably been very open here, so I've never had that sensation before, but it was insane. And my hands were the coldest part of my body. They were kind of dangling down the side like this, and so I got my hands and on the back of my head and the top like this, and it was like I was just kind of holding in the fire and the flames of my head and cooling it down a bit. And I was like, Emmanuel, have you got a freezer I can sit in? Because it was just insane how hot it was. So I've done quite a lot of minutes already, 11 minutes. So if you want to see how this continued on, I'm going to do another video, and then how I felt afterwards and what he got me to do when I got off the massage bed. Then that will be in part 2. So I'll see you for that one in a moment. Bye.